Following audio-described episode recap may contain references or triggers that could provoke post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety and stress conditions. Viewer discretion is advised. I am the hot and cold flushes that confuse you when you're already confused enough. I am the tightening of your chest. I am the snowballing worries that become an avalanche in an instant. I am the one that causes nightmares in your sleep. I am the one that causes your life to spiral out of control. I am the one that makes your life a living wreck. My name is anxiety. Anxiety, the hidden condition. You can't see it, nor you can try to detect it. It stays hidden and cloaked, and doesn't want to come out or be visible until it rears its head in a bad and ugly way. You can't catch it like a flu. It just happens out of nowhere. You can try and control it so much, but it'll eventually be noticeable to everyone around you and for everyone to see. You can take all the medication to try and control it, but the side effects are exactly the opposite. Instead of it calming you down, it puts you flat on your back and unable to move. You almost lose your job due to anxiety. It is your own fault, they said. You need help, they said. You need to start living a normal life, they said. But in truthful reality, it wasn't your fault that you spun out of control. Things aren't looking better despite people saying they are, and the spiral just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning. You've lost your nan, you've lost your pop, and you lost your grandma in the space of 5 years, and you have no one else to turn to for advice. Every day is trying to survive with the harshest of jungles, and also staying on the right side of the law. This is my experience with anxiety. I have to deal with this every single day, from sunrise to sunset. Each day is a struggle with life. For me, this episode titled Bloom and Gloom is a personal trip down memory lane filled with bad memories, post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD flashbacks, anxiety attacks, stress blow-ups, and several trips to the shrink to get to the root of a problem, but not without success. In fact, I never felt so uncomfortable in watching any episode of a show ever since I joined the fandom a few years ago. Sure, I've had the odd episode that made me blow my fuses. I've had them made me cry. I've even had episodes that made me sick. But to literally take the issue of anxiety, put it in, and present it to you directly in your face is something else. Now, most of this episode recap is going to focus on my experience with anxiety and how Apple Bloom also deals with the problem. Now, some of the content is going to be a little dark and a little bit graphic, but I'll try and keep it PG and G rated whenever I can. The Crusaders Free. We begin this tale with a visit to the Kidsline Crusaders clubhouse where a meeting is about to take place. Apple Bloom, Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle receive some news from Manhattan that makes them excited. Babseed finally has her cutie mark. Yes, you've heard it here first. Apple Bloom's cousin and the one who made Sweetie Belle cry her eyes out has finally come of age. Wow, the first of the Cutie Mark Crusaders has finally achieved their goal. But the celebrations start turning into concerns when Scooch and Sweetie start talking about the future. A future that was supposed to be filled with hope, excitement and opportunity turns out to be a worried-filled nightmare for Apple Bloom, who by the end of segment 1 is worried to no end. Fear of failure. Now let me go off track here and bring up a few points of the segment that followed. Apple Bloom had some questions to ask. What if I finally get my cutie mark and I don't like it? What if I get my cutie mark and no pony likes me? What if the Cutie Mark Crusaders drift apart? Now, Apple Bloom has a point there with those three questions. What if she got her cutie mark and it isn't her special talent? Will she face social rejection after finally going through heck to achieve her goal? Will the Cutie Mark Crusaders be disbanded or broken up? There are so many questions to ask, yet the ponies who listen to your concerns don't often listen or respond. Now, I go through a similar situation on a daily basis, and Apple Bloom, you're not alone when I say this, but you're being tumbled around like being in a clothes dryer. Obviously without the heat, of course. This is what we call fear of failure, or otherwise as it's commonly known in the medical trade as antigyphobia. In common plain English terms, antigyphobia is a repeated version of having a fear of failing a task or in life in general. For me, an example of my fear of failure is when I forget someone's birthday. Now, while I could make it up by sending a belated birthday wish, I often have the fear that the person would end up getting angry at me for forgetting their special day and eventually calling me everything under the sun and not wanting to speak to me again. And that is not a joke, by the way. Now, let's get back to the topic at hand. Apple Bloom's questions to Applejack set off a trigger for me when I viewed the preview clip a few days before the episode went to air. Now, you can clearly see that she really wants to get a cutie mark at any cost, even going as far as to put her body on the line to do it. It's also a no-brainer that Apple Bloom wants to knock down the challenges set before her in life and finally wants to take the next steps in her life to discover what she's good at. Yet, she has gone through crashing into tree sap, she's crashed into branches, she's took a few bumps and bruises along the way, had to deal with two snooty fillies in the form of Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon giving her a hard time, and getting a few ponies offside, including her own big brother and sister. Apple Bloom just keeps coming back for more, even during her lowest moments. But after all of this, she has a fear of failure in form of her future. Now, this is nothing new. I had similar feelings when I graduated high school and had major concerns about what to do next in my life. But due to my disability, no employer wanted to hire me for a job. Now, she wants to get a cutie mark, but now she has serious doubts of whether she'll find a special talent, and with no direction or even a clue of where to go next. Nightmares. Oh, sorry, no Nightmare Moon. The genuine nightmares. The bulk of the episode is centered around Apple Bloom having difficulty sleeping, and even a song from Applejack helps, but it doesn't help out that much. We then cut to the scene of the next morning where Apple Bloom wakes from her sleep to only find out the unattainable has been obtained. Whoa! Apple Bloom got her cutie mark? I'm not sure if this is real or not. Say it ain't so. Apple Bloom finally getting a cutie mark? In extermination? Now hold on for just a moment. Didn't we find out in the opening scene that Apple Bloom is more likely to get an Apple family base cutie mark? After all, if Granny Smith, Big Mac and Applejack have related cutie marks, shouldn't Apple Bloom follow suit? Is this a dream? Or is this real? That's what I wanted to know. Was Apple Bloom having a nightmare? Or was this for real? Now, if this turned out to be real, then I would have said that the show has done a Fonzie and jumped the shark, and that was pretty much the end of the show for me. Luckily though, that didn't happen. Instead, we get a classic reference to a classic movie to match the extermination role. Ghostbusters reference? And it wouldn't be a Ghostbusters reference without Bill Murray's classic line. Bona fide, of course. She came, she saw, she kicked its flank. But before she kicked flank, she ran as far into the everfree forest to escape the wrath of Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon, who as always was giving her a hard time. Now somewhere in the darkness of the forest, an all too familiar voice rang out. Starlight? What in the name of Celestia? I thought she was long gone. Now could it be? Could Starlight Glimmer, after fleeing the town that she built on equality, be hiding in the everfree forest and playing her tricks on other ponies? Was she going to make mincemeat out of Apple Bloom? Not physically, of course. After all, it's a G-rated show. And rip a cutie mark off and replace it with an equal sign? We would only find out the true identity later on. Social rejection and family disowning. Now we come to the part of the episode that put many to the ultimate test. It's a dreamin' within a dream. It turns out Apple Bloom was having a nightmare after all, but things are still not what they are normally be. The second time around we yet get another cutie mark, and instead of fighting bugs and being Bill Murray, she ends up going to the Crusaders clubhouse only for Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle to pretty much reject Apple Bloom. Scoots! Sweetie! No! This part of the episode made me cringe in fear, as this reflected my real world experiences of losing friends and breaching their trust. I had to turn the volume down on my headphones as the word Scoots and Sweetie was saying actually caused me to get a little upset. Not in the form of tears running down my eyes and physically crying, but in the form of being angry of what was going on at the time. Uh-oh, here we go. The CMC has turned its back on Apple Bloom. We now go for the same opening scene again for a third time. Only this time the darkness level was turned up to 10 and higher. You thought losing your friends was hard enough. What about the entire Apple family turning your back on Apple Bloom? And this was no joke. Oh no! You can't throw Apple Bloom out of the family. This isn't right! Now this scene almost broke me, as it reflected my real world experiences with my own family and the fights that I had with them during the years. The memories of fighting with them, including the times where I pretty much stood up for my rights to be free and independent, came flooding back to me. I was pretty much close to tears and shaking in fear at this point. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this recap, I have had episodes which have caused me to get angry. I have had episodes which have made me cry my eyes out. I have had episodes that have tested my anxiety, PTSD and stress levels. I almost lost my lunch during the Season 5 premiere episodes due to the cutie unmarking scene. But I, in my many years of being in the fandom, was never tested to breaking point while watching an episode. This one did it for me. The Princess of the Night. Now, after going through the same opening scene for a third and a fourth time, Apple Bloom finally meets her match after going through heck. Who is this person taunting her? Would we have a plot twist and have Starlight come out and pretty much turn the lights out on Apple Bloom? Well, if Starlight actually did that and came out and did that sort of stuff, I can guarantee you that I wouldn't be writing or even recording this next segment of the recap. Plus, the entire fandom would be in mourning over Apple Bloom as well. So instead of Starlight, who is now in parts unknown, we find out who was behind this after all. Luna! The Princess of the Night is back! That's right, the Princess of the Night herself. Princess Luna in the flesh and blood. So after a drama-filled portion of the episode, we are then treated to a peaceful dreamscape where Luna asks the question to Apple Bloom why she is worried to no end. It turns out she isn't alone in all of this. Her friends are also having the exact same fears. Sweetie Belle's musical talent. A door is then opened by Luna, and we soon get a look inside the world of Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo after hours. Now, it is no surprise that Sweetie Belle is a good singer. In fact, she is a very good singer as demonstrated through 4 seasons of the show so far. So we end up in her dreamscape where she is about to perform in front of big sister Rarity as well as Vinyl Scratch and Octavia. Now, instead of hearing her beautiful voice ringing across the theatre, we see Sweetie Belle end up getting a cutie mark in cleaning instead. Sweetie Belle? Is that it? I can only imagine what Rarity must have been going through at that point in time. In fact, just as a little tidbit, after I watched the episode, I had a dream where Rarity ended up comforting a crying Sweetie Belle at the Carousel Boutique. Now, it's no secret I like this sister pairing. Rarity and Sweetie were made for each other, and to be there no matter what the situation would be. Okay, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, so let's move on. Scootaloo, the daredevil? We then cross to Scootaloo, who dreams of being a daredevil like the greats of yesteryear. Armed with a scooter and an outfit that Rainbow Dash would be proud of, she takes off on a stunt ramp only for her world to turn upside down and ends up getting a cutie mark in culinary and cooking instead. Now this scene and the one before it broke my heart a little. But it goes to show that these three fillies have dreams, goals and inspirations of their very own. And even through the tough times, the bullying and even ponies even going as far as telling them that they can't do it. But in the end, all is well. The harsh reality of the last 25 minutes is nothing but broadcasting history, and the Cutie Mark Crusaders live to tell their tale and to fight for another day. Oh, and did I mention that Babs ended up getting a care package? So in conclusion, well, that episode was something completely unexpected. It covered the anxiety issue perfectly. A great episode! At the end of it all, this episode for me was completely different than I thought it was. I thought it was going to go extremely dark and extremely deep and deal with the issue of anxiety in the style that the season premiere did, but it turned out to be a great episode that also went to lengths to cover the topic without actually having to go too dark in the terms of the storyline. I have to give the show staff credit for actually tackling this issue that no other show in this genre can't touch. Sure, it tested my anxiety, stress and PTSD to breaking point, but I actually enjoyed it despite being shook up, as they say. So, what's next for the Cutie Mark Crusaders? Well, I've got a good feeling that their big moment is about to happen. It may not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it could even be a few years down the track. But when the time is right and the time is good and ready, I've got a good feeling that we will see history being made before our eyes. As they say, stay tuned. There is more to come. If you need immediate assistance or support, please contact Lifeline on 131 114 in Australia or the Kids Helpline on 1800 55 1800. For New Zealand, you can contact Lifeline NZ on 0800 543 354, the Anxiety New Zealand Trust on 0800 269 4389, or Kidsline on 0800 573 754. For further information about anxiety, you can contact Beyond Blue on 1300 22 4636 or visit on the web at www.beyondblue.org.au. For New Zealand, you can visit the Anxiety NZ Trust on the web at www.anxiety.org.nz or the Mental Health Foundation of New Zealand at www.mentalhealth.org.nz. You can also talk to a GP, a medical professional or someone you can trust. For viewers overseas, you can consult your local telephone directory, healthcare directory, or access a list of crisis numbers for your country by clicking on the link in the video description or at fromtheexec.net or at RJRTV.com.